In the depths of an untamed wilderness, survival isn't a choice. It's a relentless battle for every breath. Some stories slip away, untold and forgotten, while others, like the legend of John Colter, grip the darkness and refuse to let go. He was a frontiersman, a fur trapper, and perhaps the first true mountain man. But what happened to John Colter on that fateful day in 1808, far beyond the grasp of civilization, became one of the most harrowing tales of survival in American history. And it all started with a single misstep into a world where man becomes prey. In 1808, John Colter was no stranger to danger. He had already spent years exploring the uncharted West, navigating territories that would one day become Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons. But nothing could have prepared him for what lay ahead. As he and his partner, John Potts, paddled their canoe up the Jefferson River, the two trappers thought they were alone, surrounded by the deafening silence of the wilderness. But soon, that silence was shattered by the sound of war cries, a dreaded sound that meant only one thing: they were not alone. A band of Blackfeet warriors emerged, over 200 strong, their weapons drawn, their eyes fixed on the two men in the canoe. There was no time to think, only to act. Potts and Colter paddled furiously, desperate to escape the grasp of their would-be captors. But escape was impossible. An arrow hissed through the air, finding its mark on the Potts' body. The canoe tilted, Potts slumped forward, and in that split second, Colter knew there was no outrunning fate. The Blackfeet took Colter prisoner, but rather than a swift execution, they had a different fate in mind. A fate more cruel than he could have imagined. They stripped him naked, leaving him exposed to the biting cold, and then they gave him a head start. "Run," the chief said. What followed was not a race, but a hunt, and Colter was the prey. For nearly 6 miles, he ran, his feet bloodied and torn, his lungs burning with each desperate gasp of air. But he dared not look back. He could hear them, could feel them, closing in behind him. As he approached the river, his body was on the verge of collapse. He could feel his strength ebbing away, every muscle screaming for relief. But the hunt was far from over. Without hesitating, he dove beneath the surface, feeling the chill envelop him like a shroud. He clung to a mass of driftwood, bobbing helplessly in the river's relentless current. The Blackfeet combed the riverbank, their war cries echoing in the air. Colter remained hidden, motionless, as minutes bled into hours. It was a cruel test of endurance, but he knew it was his only chance. When darkness finally fell, and the last of his pursuers had vanished into the night, John Colter dragged himself onto the riverbank. But this was only the beginning. The nearest outpost lay over 200 miles away, across a landscape as unforgiving as the warriors he'd escaped. Over the next 11 days, he moved forward, driven not by hope, but by sheer will to survive. He had no clothes to shield him from the cold, no weapon to defend against predators, and no food to sustain his strength. Yet somehow, he endured. When he finally stumbled into Fort Raymond, his body was nothing but a shell of the man he once was. Yet, despite his harrowing ordeal, John Colter lived to tell his tale. A tale that would grow into legend, The story of a man who defied death in the most desperate of circumstances. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Until next time, keep surviving.